Boys Podcast.
Big
Welcome
Boys,
back, brother.
Big Boys Podcast. This is always the favorite of the week. This is the highlight of the week. You know, we're excited. We have Elon Musk later on as a guest tonight.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Twitter shirt given to me.
Yep.
Elon gave me the Twitter shirt, an old high school friend. So he's going to be on the show later at the end of the show. So if you stick around if you want a little interview there.
So, brother, we're talking Lions.
Yes, we are.
We're talking Lions. We're talking Packers. We're talking
The favorite pod of the week.
Ford Field.
The pregame and postgame Lions pods.
Tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. That's what we're talking about. Over the course of
The last
the
week.
last week, a lot of things have happened in the world of the Detroit Lions football team.
TJ Hockenson,
Gone.
traded within the division.
So he's not gone.
Yeah,
but
you're
he's
going to
gone.
see him twice a year. He's traded to the Minnesota Vikings for, I believe it was Hockenson and a fourth conditional pick.
Well,
And
the Lions gave up a Hockenson, a fourth rounder, and a conditional fourth rounder
for next year.
for
For a second rounder
this year.
and a fourth rounder. Go pull it up. Pull it up.
It was a third round.
Let's be accurate on this.
So Hockenson, a 2023 fourth round pick, and a conditional 2024 pick to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2023 second round pick and a 2024 third round pick.
Now, here's where a big problem with that is. Everybody's been seeing, we get a second round pick. Minnesota Vikings are like 7-1,
6-1.
6-1, and they're going to go to the playoffs. So that second round pick is going to be like towards the end of the second round. So I mean, honestly, yeah, it's a second round pick, but it might as well be a third round pick for all I care.
What I don't understand, here's where I think the Lions got bamboozled, and I don't know. The fans will disagree, obviously. Of course they will.
Well, it was a fire sale for Hockenson. It was just, we're just going to trade him and get whatever because we're not re-signing him.
Well, okay, then obviously Minnesota. When you say that, Minnesota had more leverage in the deal. And I think the Lions did not get enough value back. They should have got another draft pick.
To me, if you're trading him,
they didn't get enough picks in return. You gave up 2 picks. One is a conditional, yes.
you gave up 2 picks and your player for 2 picks in return.
Yeah, I don't really understand where
And you
the
traded
Lions
him
made
within
out.
the division to a team that you're going to see twice a year.
Yeah,
And
I don't see this as a really win. I mean, yes, you get a second rounder, that's great, but
very late second rounder.
It's only great is if that player becomes a really good player. So that pick has a lot of pressure on it already because Hockenson, I think, was undervalued and maybe underutilized in Detroit. When he played with Stafford, that 1 year, he was a Pro Bowler, was he not? Mm-hmm. Or alternate, whatever you want to say. I think if Hawkinson's one of those guys, he needs a quarterback that I think Hawkinson's a good player. I'm sorry. I don't think he's been utilized the right way in Detroit.
He's a top 10 tight end.
I think he goes to Minnesota with Kirk Cousins.
I think he thrives in Minnesota.
With Jefferson there and Cook. I see Hockenson just being like a stud.
Yeah,
a stud.
You got Jordan Jefferson.
He won't be injured like he was in Detroit.
Justin
Those
Jefferson.
little things won't happen.
You got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen, and you got Dalvin Cook. That's 3 elite weapons right there. And he's just kind of the fourth guy. And he's a weapon in himself. I think he's going to thrive in Minnesota. And I think a lot of these little ticky-tack, nicked-up injuries that he's had in Detroit, I bet you they don't happen in Minnesota.
Yep.
I just bet you. For some reason, when it comes to the Lions, a lot of these ticky-tack injuries seem to linger for some reason for Lions players. I mean,
Swift.
You hate to say, like, maybe they just kind of just want to sit.
Charles Rogers.
Maybe they just want to sit and just kind of milk their injuries and not really want to play for the Lions. You don't want to say that, but
That's tough.
But it seems there's been players that it seems like get these ticky-tack injuries for Detroit, and then they go on and they don't really have problems the rest of their career. And I bet you Hockenson goes on to Minnesota, and I bet you these injuries don't crop up the rest of his career. I bet you he's a Pro Bowler next year. Hell, he could have an elite second half of the season this year, make Pro Bowl this year.
Well, ultimately, I mean, that's all fine and good and stuff, but ultimately what the Lions did, I just don't feel like they got enough in return.
If you're trading him within the division of the NFC North, my first ask is you're giving me a first-round pick, no matter what. Within the division.
Okay,
Outside
you can
of the
ask
division,
that. You can ask that.
And-
but if he's
okay.
not valued at that...
Okay, they say no, and I'm not getting a first-round pick from a team within the division, then I'm not trading him within the division. End of story. And I'll trade him outside of the division for a second-round pick.
I don't know. It's easy to say that, though, when you look at other offers from other teams.
Well, that's the question. We don't really know what other offers there
What
were.
I don't understand is, like, I find that kind of a strange thing, though, that was the best that the Lions could do for the value of Hawk. If it is, then it is. But anyways,
if I can trade him outside of the division for a second round pick, I'm doing that versus trading him within the division for a second round pick. Are you not?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to face the guy 2 times a year.
But I just think that you gave up a little bit too much. And I don't know what the conditions are that got to be met for that 4th round pick. I'm sure there's got to be some conditions as far as Hawk's performance. And if Hawk just goes off, then that's going to mean that conditional pick, I would suspect.
And he will.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Will kick off, and then the Lions will have to give up another,
Well, Hawk trade aside, there was also the firing of Aubrey Pleasant, the defensive backs coach for the Lions, which we touched on a little bit in another one of the podcasts.
Yeah, another guy gone. You're fired! Aubrey Pleasant, secondaries coach for the
political
Lions.
move doesn't mean a thing. It's just the organization was sensing a lot of rage from the fans, and the fans wanted blood because this team has not shown any progression to being better than they were last year. And I think that it came a time where it's like somebody's got to be a scapegoat, and we got to fire somebody to kind of appease the fans. And Aubrey Pleasant was the guy.
That's one spin of the story. I think there's another spin of the story. At least this is the spin coming out of Allen Park, is that he was not getting along with the other coaches. He wasn't on the same page as far as game plan goes. Clear evidence was after that Miami game where Campbell came out and said that he wanted the corners to be jamming the receivers of Miami at the line of scrimmage, especially Hill and Jaden Waddle, guys that can really run. Jalen, whatever. So that was a point of contention for Dan because he did mention that in the post game. And so he was kind of pointing the finger in some ways, but what I don't understand, though, is you are the head coach. I don't know how that doesn't really get rectified throughout the course of the game.
It's got to be some type of communication breakdown.
Yeah, and some just sheer difference of theory on how to play philosophy, on how to play defense, I guess. I mean, that's all you could say. Philosophical differences. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Yeah, I think the fans had more ire against Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn was the guy to fire. In my opinion, Aaron Glenn's the guy that should have got fired.
But see, those guys go back to New Orleans, meaning Glenn and Campbell.
I don't give a shit.
Campbell. But no, those guys go way back.
I don't care.
And I think that since they go way back, that plays obviously in that personal relationship. And that's tough to get rid of people where I think you really enjoy working with somebody, and I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where he did do that with Anthony Lynn. I don't know how well they got along, but Lynn was a former head coach in this league with the Chargers. But Aaron Glenn was up for head coaching jobs before this season, brother.
Anthony Lynn was a head coach for the Chargers.
That's what I just said.
So,
idiot!
You idiot! You fool!
My ass. Brother, let's get into the game itself. They got the Packers coming in.
The Packers are coming in.
Packers are mightily struggling this year.
The Packers are 3-5?
Aaron Rodgers does not look like the Aaron Rodgers of old. But
I got a theory on Aaron Rodgers. Let me just get into this real quick.
Cut me off, brother.
Sorry.
Cut me off at the
Since
knees.
you brought him up. Since you brought up A-Rod. Brother.
Cut me off.
Sorry,
at the knees.
brother.
Always.
Smith boys kind of got to jump
off.
in there when they can. Smith boys kind of jump in.
God?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, to me, I was thinking about this earlier today. He's like one of them orcas that you would go and you would see at SeaWorld.
What?
Where he's pinned up in this little freaking aquarium, right? And it's like, man, now you see his dorsal fin. It's just like it's flopped down like this, and that means that they've been they're in captivity,
Oh.
And it's a sad sight to see. And
He's been neutered.
Yeah, you see these lions, you go to the circus and stuff, and it's like, man, they're in change. It's like, is nature's intent, this is, the fair fight.
So you think Aaron Rodgers is like a wild dog?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a different bird. Off the field and on the field. On the field, he's a unicorn, right? He is one of these guys that you dream of as far as a quarterback. He's all the gifts.
Could be possibly
more
arm talent, pure arm talent wise, could be the best quarterback of all time in the terms of just pure arm talent, strength, accuracy, reading defenses, playing the quarterback position in a pure sense.
One of the most
could be
talented,
the best of all time.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the resume of a Tom Brady, so he's not going to go down as the greatest of all time in that sense.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, you got to be like, that really annoys him because he's like, I know athletically I'm that much better than Tom, but he's got all of these rings, But I think Tom has, we're getting way off track here, but Tom has more of this may be another Smith Boys podcast, but hey, anything effing goes, right? So, but I think Tom Brady has the mental game. And maybe now that mental game is kind of fracturing what's going on right now in his personal life.
His smoking hot wife is divorcing his ass.
Tom Brady's had, who was the other girl? Monahan?
Michelle Monahan?
Or Bridget Monahan?
Whatever, she's hot too.
Yeah, gorgeous. So, I mean, but all those mental games, I think Tom Brady has the edge over A-Rod. I think A-Rod comes across as maybe a very deep thinker, but I think he's kind of weak-minded.
He's smoking that ayahuasca in the offseason off the field, eating those mushrooms.
I think he's a little weak-minded personally. But athletically, nobody I can see has ever played the game. I think Pat Mahomes is kind of on that next fray, or Josh Allen is on that next fray of really seeing what
they've got to put the wins together, though, and they got to put the career together that he has.
Yeah, for sure. But I think Aaron Rodgers is like being caged up. I mean, ultimately, he has no dogs outside. Devontae Adams is gone now. He's got nobody. Randall Cobb is gone now. The shell of Randall Cobb is gone now. He's got all these second rookie year guys or second year guys.
His best receiver is Alan Lazard.
Yeah, Alan Lazard. I don't know this Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. He's kind of emerged, but
he was awesome in college.
But I was looking at the teams that
Nevada Wolfpack
that Green Bay has lost to, and it's not a very impressive list of teams. They lost to Washington.
They're not very good.
Yeah, they lost to Washington. They lost to the Jets at home. I was looking at this earlier.
They're
mostly low scoring. I think they lost to the Giants.
I think they just lost to Baltimore, didn't they? Who did they play? Didn't they play on Sunday night against Baltimore? I think, and they lost.
Bills.
The Bills.
Yeah, they lost to the Bills.
Baltimore, Buffalo, whatever.
Yeah. Hold on here.
Well, the Lions are also. I know the Lions are also in this game. They got a bunch of players out, bunch of inactives. I know Josh Reynolds, who's pretty much their number one receiver right now. He's out. He ain't playing. Swift is always kind of, is he going to play or not?
Swift is very iffy.
Swift seems like he's always a game-time decision. A lot of the offensive line's banged up. A lot of the secondary's banged up. A.J. Parker's out. To me, it's like, dude, you got all these players out. If I'm the Lions, I'm in tank mode. I'm sorry. I traded Hockenson. He's one of my 1A or 1B offensive weapon, and he's gone to a division rival. I'm in tank mode if I'm the Lions. I'm in tank mode, and honestly, what's sad about it is you won 3 games last year, and you're kind of looking at, well, shit, I kind of only want to win the one game that I already won this year. And I want to go 1-16 and get number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Because Goof ain't the guy, and you need to move on from him. And I think they get a $10 million cap hit if they release him at the end of the season. But that beats paying him, $30 million if you wanted to re-sign him. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, you need to draft quarterback. Take your pick. Whatever, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Bryce Young, he's my guy, Alabama guy, okay? Or you could go defense and draft Will Anderson 1 overall, another Alabama guy.
Well,
I got his jersey right here, too.
Yeah, well, just to finish up on Green Bay real quick. So Green Bay has lost 4 in a row. They were 3-1 at one time, and now they are sitting at 3-5. It has not been pretty. They lost to Minnesota in the opening game of the year. They beat Chicago 27-10. Beat Tampa 14-12, which was an ugly game. Beat New England 27-24. Lost to the Giants, Jets, Washington, and Buffalo.
4 in a row.
And they have not looked good in any of these games because Green Bay is really put on TV a lot here in this area. And you end up watching them, it's Aaron Rodgers, you're interested in watching them. And I'm telling you, the offense looks so stifled. I've never seen an Aaron Rodgers offense look so like handcuffed.
The best part of their offense has been Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones isn't going, then they don't have anything. And Aaron Rodgers he looks so frustrated out there playing. Like it's amazing to watch, just to watch somebody so good And he won the NFL MVP last year.
year.
I mean, it's not like the guy forgot how to play the position, you know. So I don't know. I think the Lions have a real shot. Now, as far as I'm serious. Do I think they're going to win? No. But do they have a shot? Yeah, you got to say they have a shot.
I don't think they have a shot either. With their inactives and the guys that they got out, I don't think they have a shot.
Now, you were talking just a minute ago about kind of looking ahead with the Lions. You know, some of these moves.
Got to look ahead.
Well, some of these moves that they got on the horizon, right? And as you look at the season, you forecast the season ahead. It's not really about W's anymore for the Lions. So we'll continue to pregame the Lions.
They got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks.
Well, I think it's important. Like, we'll continue to pregame the Lions, but at the same time, you got to know, like, these games really don't matter for the Lions. You want to lose. You want to lose.
Philosophically, you want to lose.
Yeah.
Like, you want to lose and get the best draft pick you can.
Exactly.
So that you can build your team for the future. Because you're out of the playoffs. You're not doing anything this year. So winning games the rest of this year, say you win 2-3 more games and you go 4-13.
But somebody goes 3-14, that sucks. Because you want to be in the catbird seat, right? You want to have that number 1 pick where everybody is either got to negotiate with you or you're going to have the pick of the litter. You're going to have the pick of whatever position, whatever player you want. And if you're the Lions, you got to start this rebuild. You've been tearing it down.
For 2 years now.
Right? So the rebuild, so you got to look at it as everybody says rebuild, but the real word for the Lions to me is tear down. Because the Lions were left with a horrible salary cap position. They had a lot of players that were just awful at the end of the rope, career-wise, and they were paying them. You know, they had Stafford. They had Jamie Collins' contract on the books. They had these terrible contracts that was just dead cap money. $70 million worth of dead money. Something like that, 72. So now you have to get all that off the books, and that's what they've been trying to do. If you're looking objectively at what the Lions have been trying to do, without taking 65 years of results to form that opinion. So you look at this regime with, okay, we're going to be open-minded here, right? So now you trade Hawk, so you get a couple more assets coming back to you.
More draft capital.
You got a decision with Goff. Either pay him $30 million next year or you cut him and have $10 million of dead cap money on for 2023. However,
that's what we would do, correct?
Well, I think that's what they're going to do. I mean, otherwise you're committing to Goff. You're paying for a average player, but paying him premium money. You can't do that and win in the NFL. You can't do that. So what they're going to do is they're going to either try to trade him in the offseason at draft day for a team that's looking for one.
Not going to get much.
Or
probably,
they're going to cut him before June 1st, right?
And
that's what they're going to do.
If you trade him, you're not getting much. Maybe a 5th-round draft pick. Maybe a 6th-round draft pick. If you're lucky, a 4th-round draft pick.
Yeah. So then they're going to
try
to draft a quarterback with 1st overall. It's either going to be C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. We know that. The Lions just need to not be the little cute, smartest guy in the room like they always try to be.
And try to take like Hendon Hooker, the 25-year-old guy from Tennessee. Or Will Levis, the guy that's just nobody really knows.
I don't know who it is. I ain't telling the Lions to draft this guy or that guy.
I want Bryce Young.
I don't know.
I want Bryce Young.
Obviously an Alabama guy, so he wants Bryce Young. If I'm the Lions, I don't know. Or I'm not the Lions, but I'm just saying. So
hell, I want Bryce Young and then use my other draft capital, and I want to trade back up into the top 5 and get Will Anderson too.
Well, they can try to do that, but so then they get their quarterback, right? Now the rest, I think they have 5 picks in the top 60.
I think it's 4 or 5. I know
so they have a lot of value. They have a lot of potential for value up top. They have a lot of assets that are really valuable. So the rest of those 4, after you pick quarterback number 1, have got to be defense in my mind. You've got to get a bit of linebacker that can run and just be a tackling machine. I think you got to get another guy on the other side to help Hutch. And you need a safety. You need somebody back there that can just quarterback the defense.
You need to feel safe in the back.
Yeah, you got to have a guy. Maybe Kirby Joseph is emerging. I'm curious to see how he does tomorrow against Green Bay, because I have been impressed. I think he's caused like 3 of the Lions' 4 turnovers.
I've seen him make some nice plays this year, but I've also seen him get destroyed sometimes. But he's a rookie, so who knows? But in terms of this rebuild, I mean, it almost seems like the Lions are rebuilding their rebuild already.
I don't think so. I think this has all been part of the teardown.
Well,
all still part
you
of
want
the
to
teardown.
hope so. We want to hope so
Look,
that
if
this
they-
has been like a 2-year teardown because going into the season, everybody was expecting to see a lot of progress. No, don't brother me because I want to bring up the teams that have made progress ahead of the Lions. Okay, you got teams like the Falcons, you got the Saints. You got
He was
Seattle.
dying for this, people. He was dying to say
Well,
that.
I'm tired of this narrative of like, oh, well, this is like, if you expected them to make the playoffs this year, you're an idiot. It's like, no, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs this year.
No.
But I damn sure expected them to look as good as Atlanta or Seattle or New Orleans. And these are all teams that are better than you. And I don't want to, and not just better than you by like a game. These are teams that are exponentially better than you. That are in first place. Seattle, first place, better than you. Atlanta, first place, better than you. And these aren't teams that it's like these are teams that have good offenses because Seattle is 4th in scoring offense, Atlanta is 6th in scoring offense, New Orleans is 8th in scoring offense, and the Lions are 9th. So the Lions are right up there in the top 10 for scoring offense. Okay, in comparison to these other teams that are doing their 1-year rebuilds like Seattle and Atlanta. But then people want to come back with, well, the Lions don't have a defense. Their defense sucks, so that's why they're losing games.
Oh, yeah, he went off on a tangent earlier.
The Lions' defense is no good, so they can't win any of these games. Okay, well, Seattle is 5-3, and they have the 27th ranked defense. Their defense sucks too, and they're in first place, and they're 5-3. Okay, Atlanta is 4-4, and they're in first place in their division, and their defense is 31st. They're one spot better than you because you're last, 32nd. Atlanta has the 31st ranked defense, and they're still 4-4. So I'm tired of this bullshit of people saying, well, the Lions ain't got no defense, so that's why they can't win these games. So these other teams ain't got any good defenses either. You know what the difference is? They're better coached. They have better fundamentals. They don't make as many stupid errors and penalties and costly turnovers at costly times that cost them games. And when it comes down to crunch time and they're trying to eke out a win, they are able to rise above and actually win the damn game, which you have never been able to do in 60 years, ever. I mean, hell, if you played Washington right now, they'd probably kick your ass, and you'd have no wins. You'd be 0-7 right now. Am I wrong?
Brother, everything you just said was bullshit.
What do you think about Mitchell Singer?
Yeah, you got to admit, this is good.
No, I mean, there's a lot of truth to
Am I
what
wrong?
No,
If you
there's
played
a lot of truth
Washington
to what
right
you
now,
said.
would Washington beat you?
They would
And you'd be
make it a
0-7.
much closer game than what they did in the first half. And really, I thought in the second half of that game, Washington almost came back and won.
Almost came back and won it.
Lions, everyone said, it was the most perfect half of Lions football anybody had ever seen. And then the second half happened, and then it was the same old Lions.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the Lions. I don't know. They aliens came down and just gave you a little glimpse of what the Lions could be. You know, I mean, once in 65 years is all I can say. You got a half of football. The Lions never play 60 minutes of football. They play 5. They play 12. They play 8 minutes of football. The Lions gave you a full 30 minutes of football there. You know, but every other game, the Lions will give you, 6, 12, 13, 20 minutes. That's what the Lions do. They're not going to ever give you 60. That's just not Lions football. That's
Correct.
not the Ford way. And that's how you need to start looking at it. Look at how the Fords build the car. Do they give you a full day's work? You know what I mean? No.
I drive a Dodge, and I love it. So it's better than any Ford I've ever been in.
Just kidding about all that.
I'm not. But I see, okay, I will give them credit. If this was their plan all year.
It's got to be. It's got to be the plan.
If this was the plan to have a 2-year teardown, and they were expecting to do their 3-win season last year, and if they were expecting to maybe finish this year with 3 wins again, and have it be a 2-year teardown and trade Hockenson in the process and gather more draft picks, and their plan was coming into the next draft to take a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young at quarterback and get a franchise QB and then cut Goff or trade Goff, then I'm all for it. I'm thinking, hey, you were looking way into the future, and that's a great plan. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm on board. But I think that they were just more like, I think they were expecting to win more games than they did the first few weeks of the season. Because I bet you if they beat Minnesota in Week 3 and they end up being 2-1, I bet you they're not making the moves that they made with trading Hockenson and firing Aubrey Pleasant.
Here's the next piece of the puzzle, though, that we got to talk about.
What's the next piece? What do you got for the next piece of the puzzle here?
Well, okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about how this rest of the season plays out.
Because we haven't analyzed the game at all yet.
Like we just said, the game really don't matter. You want to lose. But the next piece of the puzzle is you got to start looking at your contracts that you're potentially going to be bringing on, right? Because if you bring on a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, doesn't matter. Look at the contract that you have.
God, let it be Bryce Young.
Well, look at the contract that you're going to have, right? It's going to be a first overall. And all these things are now regulated now. And I need to get more versed, and there was more pods.
The rookie contract. First 5
overall,
years. First 4 or 5 years.
But you got to be careful of the guys that you have now that you think are building blocks. A Hutch, right, is going to be sucking. You're going to be sucking for probably, you get to draft a rookie quarterback next year.
Say sucking again, brother.
Well, you're going to be sucking again next year. Well, you are. I mean, come on. So now what the Lions have to worry about,
can't start Bryce Young.
The pressure of the outside fan base, because now you're going to be in year 3 of Dan Campbell on a rookie quarterback, and you're going to suck again.
You can't start the quarterback you draft next year. They got to bring in a guy like a Teddy Bridgewater.
So you're getting rid
guy.
of Goff. You're getting rid of Goff then, or can you franchise
No,
Goff?
hell no.
Okay.
You're getting
Just
rid
for
of Goff.
1 year,
You're getting
you
rid
gotta
of
get rid of
Goff.
him.
You're getting rid of Goff. You're drafting a QB, and you're bringing in like a guy like Teddy Bridgewater or something to kind of gap for a year. Or not a full year, maybe 6, 7, 8 games.
But you see where I'm going here. Like, you're starting to look ahead here. Where now you're.
Oh, you'll suck next year too.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're into year 3 of Dan Campbell, and you're still putrid. So now you got all these young guys on the team. Hutch is still young. St. Brown's still young. Swift is off the team, so you're still in need of a running back.
Penei Sewell.
You just traded Hawk, but you did
Sewell.
draft James Mitchell, who did look good in one play. But you got your offensive line now. Taylor Decker getting older, contracts coming up. Frank Ragnow getting older, contracts coming up. Penei Sewell. These guys. He'll by the time 2 years down the road again, his rookie deal will be coming up.
Okudah
coming up.
Swift.
So you're going to have more decisions along the way on how to make these. Maybe these guys that are they going to be around when the team finally has these other obvious pieces needed in place? Like, that's the question. And then are the fans going to allow the Ford or going to not put enough pressure on the Fords where they aren't cutting bait with
You're gonna be in another cap.
prematurely.
You're gonna be in another cap hell here in like 4 years or so, I would say.
Well, you see where I'm going with it.
Yeah, your core, your nucleus is Swift isn't a part of it as far as I'm concerned, and your core and your nucleus is probably going to be whatever quarterback you take. Say it's Bryce Young, Penei Sewell, Jamison Williams if he ends up being serviceable.
I forgot all about him.
If he ends up being a stud,
yeah.
Hutchinson is going to be a part of your core. Maybe Josh Paschal if he ends up being anything decent. Because Okudah's probably going to be gone because his rookie deal is going to be coming up, and he's going to split if he's got any brains to him. He's going to get the hell out of Detroit. And Decker's getting old and going to be gone. And I wouldn't Ragnow too. So I mean, those guys, to me, guys like Decker and Ragnow are not going to be part of like the good part of your future. You're going to be looking at Sewell. You're going to be looking at your quarterback. You're going to be looking at Jamison Williams, maybe St. Brown if he decides to stick around, and Aiden Hutchinson. And you got to draft. You got to hit on 80% of your draft picks, 80 to 90% of your draft picks for the next couple of years for you to be legitimate. If you miss badly on your first and second and third round picks over the next couple of years, you're fucked.
Well, that's
you got to hit on those picks.
That's key. But I when you draft a rookie quarterback, especially first overall, you're going to be horrible probably for another 2 or 3 years. I mean, look at the Jaguars. Look at the Jaguars. They drafted Trevor Lawrence 2 years ago, first overall. They're still horrible.
You could look at the Jets. Zach Wilson, they just took him. The Jets are good.
Was he first overall?
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't first overall.
I'm just talking first overall.
Well, he was a top 5 pick though. But the Jets are good.
They have good defense.
The Jets are good
pieces
in spite of Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson isn't why they're good. He's not been good. But
Brees
the rest
Hall,
of their team is good.
Yeah, their defense is really good. Quentin Williams is phenomenal.
Alabama guy.
But Yeah, I mean, the Jags, I think, are kind of what the Lions are. What the Lions' future is with a Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud first overall is mirror image of what is going on with Jacksonville right now, where they are young, they've acquired assets, they've got their guy of the future in Trevor Lawrence, and they're still horrible. I mean, they've won 1 or 2 games all year. They have nothing.
And you play them later this year.
Yeah,
and you better lose to them.
And I think the Jaguars are a better team than you.
Jaguars, you call them?
Yeah. Well, they have Travis Etienne.
You call them the Jaguars?
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 What do you call them?
The Jaguars is what brother calls them.
What do you call them?
The Jaguars.
Jaguars?
Jaguars or the Jaguars?
Jaguars.
Jaguars.
That's how I've always said it. I don't know. So I'm kind of looking. I kind of see the big picture. Well, I kind of see if I'm Brad Holmes. He came out and talked this week.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
What did he say?
Pretty much the same. He said that one thing he did say that was interesting was that even if we were 6-1 as opposed to 1-6, I still would have made this trade. Do you believe that?
No.
Well, that's what he said. And some people called him out. Terry Foster, the old T-Foss on that Woodward Sports, he called him out, said he was a liar over that.
I don't believe that.
So you saying that if they were 6-1, they would not have traded Hawk?
No.
Well, that's what he said.
Primarily because if they're 6-1, it means Hawk's had a damn good year, and he's part of the reason why you're 6-1, and you're not trading him.
Well, the thing is, he is a $9 million player.
You got him through
right
the end
now,
of. You got him through the end of next year,
2023. And I think the average player at his, kind of point in his career, and the next, equal player is around $13 million. So his pay would be
double.
Yeah. Well, you go from 9 to 13, $14 million. So is he worth that? I don't know. I mean, they just drafted James Mitchell, and obviously when they drafted James Mitchell out of Tech, that kind of showed me that Dan Campbell really. The Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell thing was yeah, we don't really see Hawk a part of the future.
I could agree with that. I don't think they saw him as part of the future because I think they were.
Now, why though? Why would you not think that Hawk, because his contract is coming up, they're thinking that far ahead? I mean, I'm sure they are, but why
I'm
would
not
you
paying him $13-14 million a year because he doesn't play like a $13-14 million a year player.
But what about his game though? Do you feel like because I thought he was a good blocker coming out of Iowa, was he not? He's a good receiver coming out of Iowa. He was the blocker to Noah Fant's receiver.
He's had one good season where he went to the Pro Bowl, and he's been very ghostish since then. Where he just ghosts.
He's spotty.
And he just
that's what I'll
disappears.
say.
He disappears, man. He disappears for long stretches. I'm not talking.
But why? Why? I mean, I
is
don't
that a
get
Goff
it.
problem? Is that an offensive design problem? Plays aren't designed to go to him? Is that a Goff doesn't find him problem? Is that a he's really just not that good problem? The team knows better than we do because they know what plays they're designed and they know who the ball's supposed to go to and they know if Goff is finding them or not. We don't know this stuff, but we just see statistics and what's going on in the field, and he's not showing up in the box score, really, other than maybe 2 games a season.
He'll disappear for 3 or 4 games and then pop for 3 touchdowns and 105 yards.
He'll show up big in the box score 2 or 3 games a season.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the season is
But you look at the guy, but you look at him physically and you think this guy's got all the tools in the world to be a phenomenal athlete at the position.
George Kittle type frame and physique, and
but anyway,
you would think.
Anyway, I see the Lions competing, but if I'm Dan Campbell, you're in a tough spot. I still feel that you're in a tough spot if you're Dan Campbell, because the overarching goal is really to obtain that number 1 pick. You want the most value at that time.
I would think so.
You got to be looking at these are the 2 unicorns staring right in front of you. C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young.
And Will Anderson.
Yeah,
you got 3 guys.
But you got to have a quarterback. You got to get the quarterback. You cannot pay Jared Goff.
But that's part of.
You can't pay Jared Goff that money.
I know, brother,
No
but
way.
that's part of the issue. Is if do the Lions take Will Anderson 1 overall, and do they settle on a guy like Will Levis and Hendon Hooker later on in the first round?
I don't understand the Will Levis thing.
He
looks like $1 million, but he's. I saw that he's thrown 7 interceptions. He's thrown one of the more interceptions. He doesn't have a lot of yardage, and the teams that are good that he's played against, he's not really performed all that well.
Yeah, Tennessee just kicked their ass last
Yeah,
week. Tennessee don't really have that good of a defense.
Yeah, so it's like I went through and I can't remember.
And Hendon Hooker, the problem with Hendon Hooker is already 24 years old. So you're getting him at 25, and I think like by close to the end of his rookie season, he's almost 26 years old already. I'm not taking a quarterback. I'm not drafting a quarterback in the first round that's 25 years old already. It's not happening. When I can take Bryce Young, who's going to be 21. That's an extra 4 years difference that I got the guy.
Yeah, I mean that's all true.
It's like when what was it? It was that guy Brandon.
All true.
What was that guy Brandon Whedon, the Oklahoma State quarterback years
Chris
ago?
Weinke.
Chris Weinke and Brandon Whedon. The guys were like 27 years old.
And then the Browns. This was how dumb the Browns were. The Browns took Brandon Whedon. He was like 26, 27 at the time. And it was like, what are you doing? You're going to get 4 or 5 years out of this guy. But the Browns took him first round. They took him with their second pick in the first round because I think that was the year they put who was number 3? The running back number 3, Henderson.
You talking about
for Alabama?
Oh,
number 3.
Trent Richardson?
Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson, to me, greatest Alabama running back I ever saw. Trent Richardson was awesome.
Horrible in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they took him 3rd overall, and then they took Brandon Whedon like 22nd that year.
God, Trent Richardson was so fucking good in college. Insert Trent Richardson clips.
Fake the reverse, give it to Richardson. Breaks a tackle. Well, oh my goodness. There you go. Michael Williams in as a second tight end. 2 wide receivers split to the left. Hand off Richardson. Caught behind the line. Breaks a tackle. Breaks another. And scoots down the sidelines. Touchdown, Alabama. 52 yards. Richardson. Look at that. Say good night. Touchdown. McCarron, he's got Richardson wide open. Flies by Eric Reed. Breaks another tackle.
Could you imagine being the Browns and taking those two guys and being so excited draft day? The fan base is all in an uproar. All thrilled.
None of them panned out.
And those two guys in the first round were horrible. Set that franchise back 10 years.
I was so
10
excited.
Years.
I was such a Trent Richardson fan when Cleveland got him. I was like, dude,
that's the risk.
I look forward to any time Cleveland was on TV to watch Trent Richardson, and it was just like it just wasn't there.
Horrible.
And then he ended up going to the Colts. And I don't know, kind of had a mini sort of resurgence, maybe kind of mini
for like
resurgence.
3 games,
and then whatever. I just didn't get it. He was so fun to watch. He was unbelievable.
I don't get what happened.
Unbelievable. He was awesome.
That
run against Ole Miss where he did the like the juke back and then insert clip.
Takes the handoff again, breaks 3 tackles, gets away. And Trent Richardson picking up a couple blocks. He might take it. Cuts back, stays on his feet. What a move. Shake it, bake it, and he makes it. Touchdown.
And thinks he's got him. No, you don't have him.
That's a TKO right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to it'll jog my memory.
I'm going to insert that clip.
He was good. Yeah, I don't know. It was just bizarre.
But my point with the Lions.
Bizarre.
My point with the Lions is they could do a number of things with this. Is so they could go Will Anderson, number 1 or 2 or wherever they're at.
Don't do that.
And then they could draft a quarterback at their second pick in the first round and take Will Levis or Hendon Hooker or whatever other quarterback.
You just said not to draft those guys.
No, I'm saying this is the Lions. They have 2 scenarios. It could be Will Anderson at 1 and then a quarterback later on, which I don't agree with. Or it could be like Bryce Young at 1, which I hope, and then defense the rest of the draft, which is what I'm hoping.
Say what you would think is the right thing to do.
I think the right thing to do is draft Bryce Young at quarterback and then defense for like the rest of the draft.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
And maybe at some point in the draft, if he's there later on in like the 4th round or something, draft Blake Corum at running back.
Brother loves Blake. He loves watching Blake Corum.
Blake Corum reminds me, we talked about him a little bit earlier, he kind of reminds me of Aaron Jones a little bit, with Green Bay a little bit. And he's not quite as stocky, not quite as big as Aaron Jones, but he's so hard to bring down. And in between the tackles or outside, he's got the speed. He never goes down on first contact, almost never. But Aaron Jones is a lot better in the passing game than Corum is. But it seems like Corum's the type of guy that where you could get him involved more in the passing game and throw some screens to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, Michigan has never utilized him really that way. They've always had
Edwards is more of their passing.
Yeah, because like last year they used Edwards that way, especially against Maryland. Edwards was phenomenal against Maryland last year.
Air Force up on Army.
Yeah,
shout out Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
Air Force guy.
Yep.
Brandon, our cousin, Air Force guy.
If you're still watching 40 minutes in the Lions pregame,
our grandpa Walter, an Army guy. So, are you expecting anything for the game tomorrow? Do you want to break down any type of analysis? You want to, we'll get into, we'll give score predictions here. To me, this is a get right game for the Packers, and to me, winter is coming for the Lions tomorrow. Game of Thrones reference there. Okay, winter is coming for the Lions tomorrow. Green Bay is going to come into Detroit, and I think Green Bay is going to. And Aaron Rodgers will look like more of the Aaron Rodgers of old. I got Romeo Doubs in fantasy football, and I'm going to play him tomorrow against the Lions.
So what type of game do you expect to see? I guess I was thinking about this earlier. Like, are we going to – because a lot of the Green Bay's games so far this year have been more on the lower-scoring side because their offenses have been so putrid.
To me, I mentioned me having Romeo Doubs playing fantasy. If you got Aaron Jones as a running back for Green Bay, you want to play him tomorrow against the Lions because Lions don't seem like they can stop the run very well, and – Aaron Jones, I bet, scores a couple touchdowns tomorrow. I bet Aaron Jones scores 3 times tomorrow. Maybe a receiving touchdown and a couple rushing touchdowns. Aaron Jones scores 3 TDs tomorrow. 3. Utah, give me 3.
I was trying to think of what I was going to see tomorrow, and I was thinking that both defenses are not that good. I don't think Green Bay's defense is all of that stellar.
Well, they do have. Jair Alexander is probably like the best cover corner in the league. He's a shutdown corner.
Yeah, but I was thinking that I think the Lions will put up points against them. And I think Green Bay is obviously going to move the ball in spite of a lot of Green Bay's struggles. And maybe Romeo Doubs is going to shine tomorrow. Maybe
Lazard. We don't know if Lazard's going to play or not. I think he's kind of like a game time decision. But he's Rodgers' favorite target is Allen Lazard.
But Detroit's defense is horrible.
It's awful. So, it's wretched. It's terrible. It's awful. It sucks.
So that in itself, I think, is going to catapult Rodgers into having a good day. But I do feel though
Rodgers does not play well in Detroit though.
Yeah, I was just going to say Green Bay has a funny thing about coming to Detroit and playing.
I don't know if it's Rodgers in a dome.
It's something weird.
The turf.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, there is something weird to it where he doesn't perform like he normally does. So I don't know. I could see the Lions winning this game. Am I picking the Lions to win? No, I am not. The odd. What's the line on this?
I'm gonna go Packers 27, Lions 20. 27-20, Packers win.
Oh boy,
that's my pick.
What do you say?
27-20, Packers win.
Well, the Packers are favored by 3.5. Over under is 49.
So that would be 47. So that would be taking the under.
All right, 3.5. Ooh.
It's the NFL. Almost every game is 3.5.
Yeah, I think it'll be a touchdown game. I'm going to say, 31-27 maybe. 31-27. So I'm taking the over.
Okay.
Yep, I'm taking the over.
Well, we got time. Well, I'd say our apologies to Elon Musk. I think we ran.
Oh yeah, we're way over.
Yeah, we ran out of time.
We were going to hear a little bit about the first week of Twitter and firing half the staff yesterday.
Yeah,
but
I think we got to bump them. My rant on the whole comparing to Atlanta and Seattle and everything went a little long, and we kind of went a couple minutes over there. So apologies. We'll get him on the next one.
Supper's getting cold.
Maybe on the post game tomorrow we'll get him on here if he's able to get on. So, but we'll do a post game tomorrow.
Oh God, yeah.
Do a post game for Lions. We're gonna have probably a post game for Alabama and LSU tonight.
Definitely one for Michigan and Rutgers.
Well, we might combine the two. Maybe we'll combine the two.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Michigan and Rutgers deserves like 3 minutes. Because that game, it's going to be a blowout.
Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, that's gonna be
It's going to be the red wedding.
You can take that one. Yeah, that's gonna be the red wedding there.
That's going to be the red wedding.
You could take that to the blood. You could take that to the bank.
Yeah.
The blood bank.
Yeah.
So
So
you know what, brother? I'm not done yet, actually.
Oh boy.
Oh, God, help us!
It's just thinking about Dan Campbell, and say they lose tomorrow to Green Bay. What do you say in a press conference anymore as Dan Campbell? What questions do you ask? I can't imagine what a Dan Campbell press conference is like as the Lions head coach anymore and as a member of the press.
¿Qué opina usted del gobierno de Zapatero? Pues igual que yo. ¿Y qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno canario? ¿Y de los ayuntamientos de la isla?
Well, you put an interesting question out there, and like, as
Just
somebody
real quick.
that you know is in a position where he's got to be accountable to the fans and accountable to the media in that part of the job. I don't know what you say anymore, and I'm sure you're trying to win these games.
Every
right? Like,
week he comes out and says that this is on me. I got to coach better. The same coach speak. It's called coach speak.
And I think where a lot of part of the fan base is coming from, and I agree with this side of it. It's like you want to see progress, right? You want to see some type of progress. And
they are one game better.
Some of these decisions that Dan Campbell makes, I just don't understand. I mean, you went for it 6 times on 4th down against the New England Patriots, and that was the most ever any team has ever done that in a game.
And not gotten them.
Like him calling timeouts and stuff. Like, there's part of me where I think, even if you had players, okay, so that's the whole thing. Okay, you don't have players, right? Okay, let's just say you don't. I'll agree with you. You don't. The other thing is, does Dan Campbell's coaching decisions give you a lot of confidence that says, even if you did have the horses or the dogs, are you still going to win football games because he's such a good coach and he's going to maximize the abilities and the skills of these players and put them in positions where they are going to be successful. Therefore, we will be successful as a team. Do you feel confident in that?
I do not.
Of course you don't.
I don't feel confident in much of anything Dan Campbell's done.
Well,
do
that's
you?
the ultimate question.
Do you?
I question it. I
think he just kind of looks like, to me, he reminds me of just like a baboon. Just kind of in the forest, just flinging shit around.
Well, the one interview that I watched, the Woodward Sports, I'm not a big fan of that show, but
it's no Smith Boys podcast.
Yeah, but anyways, he did bring a good point after the game. Like, he's like, Dan Campbell's like, oh, well, yeah, we just didn't play, you know. And the way he was after that game, I think there is a little bit of Dan Campbell where he lacks a lot of couth. He lacks a lot of...
he's a Neanderthal.
Yeah, in a lot of ways he is.
He's a goddamn baboon.
I think he comes across that way. I don't know. I mean, he presents himself that way a little bit. You got to be honest.
Like, if you walked into a zoo and you saw a monkey shit fight where it was just monkeys throwing shit at each other, brother. That's what I expect Dan Campbell to be. Dan Campbell is
just... so far. It's such a stretch.
Dan Campbell is just a monkey shit fight at the zoo. That's
I view Dan Campbell as, you're saying Dan Campbell's in the cage throwing shit with them. I view Dan Campbell as watching it and being entertained. You know, I think there's I don't want
either side is Dan Campbell. I mean, whatever.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Pick your poison.
I don't know. I think there's a big difference between being in the act and watching the act and being somewhat entertained.
I don't think there is.
I've never seen this before.
I don't think there is.
You know,
I think Dan Campbell is the baboon throwing his own shit.
Hilarious.
I think he's the baboon shitting in his hand and throwing it at a different monkey. That's Dan
I think he's entertained by it, but I don't know if he's in there doing it.
I don't know.
I'm going to draw the line with you on that one.
No. Brother, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, maybe I don't. But I just see Dan Campbell as a guy that is not going to be the guy that is the coach when the Lions are good.
Is he a nice guy? Is he a nice baboon? Sure.
He's the guy that you go up and have a beer with.
Yeah, I have a beer
at the
with
bar.
him and talk about whatever, shoot the shit with the baboon.
I don't
But
think-
when it comes to between the hashes on Sundays, he's a baboon throwing
But
shit at the other team.
Don't you think, though, brother? He's not going to be the guy coaching the Lions when the Lions are good and on the cusp of actually
No.
going to the Super Bowl.
No.
He's not going to be that coach.
No, he's not
a
an X's and O's.
Yeah,
He's not an X's and he's not an X's
he's not a
and O's,
Belichick by any means.
outsmart the other team coach. He's a baboon. He's a Viking baboon, is what he is.
Oh no, that's something new.
Yeah. If you had a damn baboon and you could throw Viking gear on him and throw shit at other Viking baboons, that's him. Man, we definitely went
I don't
along
know.
with this. We had time for Elon. Apologies to
obviously.
Elon. We had time for you,
We
buddy.
just
I'm
don't-
sorry. We'll get you next week. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll get you on the post game.
We'll tweet this out at Elon. That's what we should do, is tweet this out at Elon.
Oh, I got him on speed dial.
No, in all seriousness, we should tweet this out because you never know.
I'll get it to him. He'll find out.
Yeah.
He'll see it.
It's better than Joe
maybe-
Rogan. Tell me, hey, we're better than Joe Rogan.
Well, Rogan's got some pretty high profile guests on his show too.
Yeah, but that's not anything about the betterness.
Yeah, no.
We're better than him.
You think so?
I mean, we need to have more guests on our show.
Yeah, instead of just the girls. It was fun for a night. Getting a little Halloween. I got some.
We got a couple.
Look at this! Look at this bucket full of candy we still got left over here.
See that Butterfinger there.
That's for Ma. You see the Butterfingers from Ma. Ma loves Butterfingers.
Hey, they are good.
Ma loves Butterfingers.
I had a little one last
You got anything else you want to rap about, brother? 'Cause we're at damn near 49 minutes here.
But it's been an entertaining show. I think it's been
Lions
entertaining.
always goes longer than everything
Yeah,
else.
because there's just so much to talk about, and now you're starting to see some of this long-term planning that Brad Holmes, I think, is kind of putting together.
None of it matters, though. If you don't draft Bryce Young, none of it fucking matters to me.
So that's it. Lions pregame. We'll probably come at you later tonight for a combo Michigan postgame, Alabama postgame, and we'll do a Lions postgame tomorrow after the Green Bay game.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good?
Until then, Smith Boys,
Peace.
out.